What's that?
Hello. Well, this is nice to finally meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. I was like, oh, I said to Josh when I came home, I was like, oh, this cool girl wants to interview me. I hope I'm interesting enough.
No, I was saying to Key, my husband, that like I was really looking forward to interviewing you because, well, we'll get into this in the interview, but there's a lot of things that I really rate you on, like on how you do your business and stuff, and certain things that I've learned from you and blah 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 blah.
That's wild. That's wild to me. Like, I'm like, what? No, don't learn from me.
Okay, so Beanie. I'm going to call you Beanie because that's probably what your Instagram followers and stuff know you by.
No government.
Well, that's how I know you by anyway. And we don't need to disclose government names, so it's okay. Okay, Beanie. So let's start from the beginning. Where did it all start and why? Did it start by choice or by accident?
Kind of both. I did one wedding like years ago. Just someone messaged me and was like, I heard you've got a good camera. You know how it is, like they're like, I heard you've got a good camera, like would you do our wedding photos?
Just see one DSLR and they're like, you must be professional.
This girl knows what she's doing. And I had literally no idea what I was doing. I think I shot my first wedding in JPEG. Yeah, with my dad's camera, because my dad was kind of into photography, and that's kind of how I knew like a little bit about it. He always tried to teach me stuff that like I didn't really listen to. Like not very technical. I'm more about like the creative side of it. So whenever he tried to teach me anything, kind of ignored him. And now later on in life, I'm like, oh, dad actually knew what he was talking about. So I did that one wedding with my dad's camera. And then I didn't do anything for a long time. I actually got offered a couple of weddings and I said no because I found my first wedding really stressful. But obviously that was because I didn't know what I was doing. And then a couple of years later, I was working for a retailer, which I probably shouldn't name, but they were awful. I hated working for them.
What was it like? What sort of shop was it?
If I describe it, you probably guess what it was. It was a very budget clothes retailer.
Okay.
Yeah, so I worked for them, folding t-shirts for a living, basically, and I hated it. And I was like, okay, I need to do something else, even if it's not full time. I just need something else to do because I'm going crazy here. So I just made an Instagram account because that's how you make a business these days, isn't it? You just make an Instagram. You're like, I'm doing this now, guys. If you want,
it's all about the social media.
it's all about it. So I did that, and I did a lot of free work to begin with. I probably did like a year's worth of free stuff on like heavily discounted.
Was that all like wedding stuff or just
weddings? I'd like approach couples, like good looking couples that I knew, and I was just like, can we go somewhere and I'll shoot you, and just to build my portfolio really. And that was just how it started really, and I just was like hoping and praying that people would notice it and come and ask me if they wanted me to do their wedding. So yeah, that's how it started. I hated my job. That was how it started.
So how long have you been doing this for?
Including like my free year, maybe like 2.5 years, 3 years. But like I feel like slightly let down by COVID really, because I felt like this year was my year, if that makes sense. I had the biggest year, like my fullest year so far this year, and obviously that didn't happen. So like people are like, oh, you've been doing it 3 years, but for me I'm still like, oh, I feel very new to it. I still feel like it's a brand new thing. But yeah,
I fully get that. That's similar to me as well, because this is the second year that we've been doing it, and like you, this year it was like, this is the year that it's gonna really like kick off, and everything was all planned out, and you just felt like so psyched up for it. and then pandemic literally comes right at the start of wedding season. Can you imagine? So it's like great. So the next how many months? Well, until now, things are just very all over the place. So yeah, I feel your pain on that one. Okay, so as well as your business kind of taken off as well this year, something else very special also happened this year. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, ma'am. I got married this year, so got married in September. We were always supposed to get married in September, so we were very, very fortunate. Like, there was just like this very small pocket where like weddings of about 30 could happen. And our date that we'd already planned back in January was in that little pocket. So we were
that's so good.
unbelievably fortunate. Like I feel bad in a way, like how lucky we got. But yeah, so we got married. We just had like a little tiny wedding, and it was great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised actually, because our wedding was in October, and I remember when the pandemic all kicked off in like March, and we were kind of like, you know, at the beginning, no one knew how bad it was gonna get or how long it was gonna last for. So we were like, oh, it's in October, like things will be fine by then. Da, 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 da. October comes and then it goes down to 15. So literally 2 weeks before our wedding, we had to like change all our plans and somehow narrow it down to 15 people. So that was pretty stressful. But how did you feel about having a micro wedding? Everyone's calling it micro wedding now. So what was your opinion on having a micro wedding? Was it very different to your original plan, or like how did it go?
It was in a way. We weren't like planning anything outrageous. But we have like a lot of family, and like Josh has a huge family, so we were going to have about 120-ish people, which obviously, like, I can't even picture how that amount of people looks anymore. Like, I can't remember what that looks like. But that was our original plan when we got engaged in January 1st, actually. So we're soon going to have been a year since we got engaged. And then not long after lockdown, I just had like a sneaky suspicion that like this was not going to happen. I was just like, there is no way that we're going to end up with 120 people. Like, I was quite nervous about like money because we'd saved up quite hard for our wedding, and I just didn't want to lose any of that money. So I was just like, let's just cancel everything. Like, let's just cancel everything, and then like we'll see what happens when this is over. So I initially I was heartbroken. Like, if you ask Josh, if I say like, oh, I was fine about it, like Josh is like, she's like, like I like cried so many times because I've put so much time into like planning this beautiful wedding, and I'm a wedding photographer. Like,
That's the
I
thing.
care about what my wedding looks like, you know. So I was very like, oh, you know, all these people, we're gonna have all these people, it's gonna be amazing. And we had planned. My grandfather is Greek, so like there's a little bit of a Greek kind of thing in my family, and we had planned to have a Greek food truck come to the wedding. It was just going to be amazing. Like, I was buzzing for it. So I was kind of gutted that we had to cancel all that. But then once we did that and I got my head around it, like, I was kind of like, this is actually going to be really cool because it's so low stress and it's so cheap compared
so much.
okay. No, go on.
I think that's the interesting thing with this whole situation is because before, like, I never really had like a dream wedding or like planned it since I was young or whatever. But once you go through the process of planning and you take so much time and effort, and
you've made like Pinterest boards and you're literally doing the most, and you're like proper getting invested into it, and then suddenly you had to change everything. I fully understand what you mean, because it was so hard. It was like, it just hurt because it was like I've just gone through all of this to have this amazing day, and now it's not gonna happen. And also, it's like the fear of the unknown, because you don't even know what will happen, or will it even happen like good in any way. I don't know. So it's a hard one, but I think now that it's happened, I definitely recommend micro-wedding.
Yeah, same.
I think it's so good. Like, you save money, you have the closest people with you, and also I feel like because it's more intimate, you kind of get to enjoy all the little things a bit more, and the day doesn't go as fast. Well, everyone always says the day goes so fast. I suppose like it did go fast in some ways, but in other ways I felt like I got to speak to everyone, every single person that was there, like properly, and like really enjoy the day. So I think it's good. I think after this year, I think maybe the hype of having huge weddings might die down, and maybe more people might be looking towards like intimate micro wedding. But on that note, actually, how did you feel like you had to adapt in your work or in your business with the changes and the restrictions?
I think one of the parts I found hardest at like adapting was like everyone was moving around all the time. Like I had like these bookings that were getting postponed and then postponed again, and for me, like I'm quite happy to book someone in my calendar and be like, okay, they're locked in, and like I don't have to do any more admin work. Whereas I had to go back and do all this admin side of the work and like refund people and like figure out how that works with my accounts and stuff. That for me was one of the hardest parts, was just rearranging everyone. But like as soon as I got back to doing some weddings, like I did maybe 3 or 4 weddings like in that little pocket where weddings were a little bit more open. I didn't find wearing a mask and socially distancing from people, like I didn't find that hard. It kind of felt normal after like the second wedding. I was like, this is just what we have to do. Yeah, and the weddings were great because they were so small. Like I had so much time with the couple, which was really.
That was definitely a bonus, 100%. Because that's like the best part, where you can just enjoy like doing a really nice couple shoot. Yeah, that's definitely a true bonus. What message would you send out to couples getting married about maybe how they should treat their suppliers? So I know many people have said that, you know, a lot of suppliers have suffered this year because they've had bookings, but then couples would just like cancel like straight away. Which is, I understand from the couple side of you, because like maybe you're just stressed and you're like, I just need to cancel, I need to get my money back, I need to plan for next year, I need to. But then what would you say to those couples, like maybe another way to go about it, maybe like options for them rather than just like cancelling? Or
Yeah, I think definitely consider having a smaller wedding. I mean, you can have a big celebration with everyone you've ever known later, but if you have a date already in place that you feel like it's going to get disrupted, you could have 2 weddings. Like imagine how cool that would be. Like we had a legal day and then we had like a religious day. So like we got married legally on the Friday because that was the only space available. So they were like cramming people into the registry office at that point. And we loved it. We got a day with just our family. And then we got a day with like a slightly larger group, and it was perfect. Kind of got the best of both worlds, really. It kind of felt like we eloped, really cool, and then we had a party afterwards. And I would massively recommend like thinking about doing that, because not only do you help all your suppliers out, which probably isn't your main concern, but you also get to have this super intimate private day, while still like helping small businesses keep going, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I think because like I do photography, it made me think about suppliers a bit more, especially because I was watching more like Instagram videos and YouTube videos of people like talking about it and their like experiences and stuff, made me realize how so many people are like really struggling during, especially if that's your sole income, that is your business, and that is what you put your heart and soul into, and then this year has like turned it upside down. So I think it's kind of like a message to people who are planning on getting married that you still can get married. And also a lot of wedding photographers have maybe like adapted their packages to suit like micro weddings or couple shoots. And like I know a lot of people who have just done a shoot another day, so get married one day and then have like go to a really cool beautiful scenic place and have a really nice shoot in your dress and like actually just enjoy being together rather than like the stress of a wedding day.
That's what it is like, is realizing like you have options. Like a big wedding in a hotel is not your only option. Like there are so many different things you can do, and suppliers are willing to do those things because they need the work right now. And I think as well, like I did have not that I'm like wanting to like rant or complain, but there are a few couples who like just didn't inform me of things. So like one of my biggest pieces of advice would just keep them in the loop, because then like they can help you out. Like they've been to more weddings than you'll probably ever go to. So if you tell them like this is what we're dealing with right now, or we're thinking of changing our date to this, at least they can keep that in mind. Whereas if you just move your date, don't tell them, like that's hard for them to keep up really.
What advice would you give to brides going forward? Obviously we don't know how long we'd be in the situation for or how long restrictions will be, but any brides that are planning for next year or would like to get married next year but they're maybe not sure because of they want their dream wedding, what advice would you give to them?
I think things are looking a lot more positive for a normal wedding very soon. So there's definitely a chance you could maybe like figure out what's going on in the spring. I feel like there's an impression out there that because a lot of 2020 work for wedding suppliers got moved to 2021, that no one's free. And like if you wanted to plan a last minute elopement or a last minute like micro wedding or whatever, like you can't do that because like no one's available. But I actually think, I mean, we're available. Like I don't know about you guys, but like we have some spare time next year. Do you know what I mean? So like don't be afraid to make a last minute decision and be like, okay, things are quite open right now, let's just go for it, let's elope, let's, you know, whatever. I mean, if you want your dream wedding, you're gonna have to be patient. That's just how it is at the moment. But if you're not attached to a particular idea, then you can always do something last minute, and there will be people out there who want to help you.
Did you struggle like remaining positive going forward, like knowing that we're in lockdown? So this is going back to the first lockdown. We're in lockdown, you're not sure, like you're like the grooms are emailing you saying we're not sure what's happening with our wedding, we're not sure if we're going to get married. How did you feel at that moment, like looking forward thinking, the next few months I have these bookings but I'm not even sure if they're going to happen?
Yeah, I think along with planning my own wedding, and you probably felt this way as well, like it did sap my joy a little bit. Like I did lose my motivation a little bit creatively. I felt like in a way I was like, this business is over before it's even started. Like that was big time. But I think like that little pocket where I got to do some micro weddings was my savior really, because otherwise I think I'd have been like, I just have no work, like what is the point? So yeah, I mean I definitely felt like this is just the worst, like why me? Definitely felt sorry for myself, definitely.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that 100%. To be honest, like, I felt like I found it quite hard, to be honest, because, like you said, it was, you're worried about other people's weddings, and you're worried about your own wedding, and, like, your creativity, your joy, your motivation is just, like, decreasing. For me, like, I almost kind of, obviously I was, like, still excited for the weddings that I'll be, like, photographing, but I almost kind of, it took a back seat in my mind. Like, I kind of just left it on the shelf, and I was just like, just didn't really think about, like, I mean, anyone that follows me on my Kira and Key wedding page will know that my posting has been terrible. Like, I was not regular I think I posted, like, I feel like saying I posted once a month is...
Like, yeah. So that's something actually I wanted to mention about you. I thought it was amazing how regular you are on the socials, because you're always posting, you're always on, like, the stories, you're
always talking to the camera, which I rate a lot, because I mean, I've got a YouTube channel. And to this day, the thing is, I've always wanted to do YouTube, but I honestly don't even know why, because I hate this. I hate having, like, attention on me, and I get really nervous. But here I am. But regardless, whenever I watch you, like, on your Instagram doing that, I'm like, she's so good. Like, I'm literally like, this girl is so good. It's just, like, such good interaction, because I enjoy watching you talk. Even though, like, I'm already married, but I just enjoy watching you talk anyway, because you're always, like, positive and happy. And I'm just literally, like, sitting here watching you talk, and I'm thinking, why am I not talking? Why am I not interacting with people on my social? I'm just sitting here doing nothing. It's not good enough.
Like, to me, that is so bizarre. That is so bizarre, because when I was younger, I was really shy, like painfully, and especially around, like, people who were older than me. I had, like, a lot of friends in my area who were, like, a couple of years older than me, and I just felt so awkward, like, all the time. I just felt like I had nothing to say, and I think in a weird way that made me force myself to, like, be outgoing. I was like, you're gonna, like, talk to people, and you're gonna, like, make some friends, like, go out there, you know, like, pep talking myself, but, like, go out there and make some friends. And so now it doesn't feel, obviously I still like, I will film those videos where I'm talking to the camera on my Instagram stories, and I don't watch them back. I just don't watch them. I just put it up there, and it's there.
Like, you'll probably end up deleting it, because I definitely saw that way.
But then, like, I'll be, like, lying in bed, and, like, my husband will be, I can hear myself because my husband's watching it on his account, and I'm like, oh, turn that off. Like, I hate it. So maybe the key is to just film it and just not watch it back. Just put it out there.
Okay, I'm gonna try that. I'm actually gonna try it. How important do you feel is, what do you call it? Like, being engaging on your Instagram? Like, do you feel like you've seen a big result in people just interacting with your account a lot more now that you're putting yourself out there more?
I think noticing, like, a difference in interaction, maybe a little bit, not massively, because I feel like so many people do it now. You get used to seeing so many faces on your social media, and you're like, I don't really know who that person is, but, like, they talk on Instagram a lot. But I have noticed that once I meet a client, it changes it, because they feel like they know you already, because they've seen you on your stories and they know stuff about you, kind of maybe know your sense of humor and that kind of thing. And I think I've noticed that my clients are way more relaxed because they've maybe joked with me on Instagram,
or
like a story. Yeah, definitely. I think I think I've noticed a difference with clients, definitely. Yeah, they're just like more comfortable because they're like, oh, I know that girl, she embarrasses herself on social media. Yeah, I think it's important, but I think if you're not that type of person, it's not the be all and end all of your business. I think you can manage without it, but it is important to a certain extent.
That's interesting. So, have you got any advice that you'd give to anyone that's
new in the wedding photography industry?
I mean, I feel like I'm still new. I feel like I'm like squeaky brand new, but I think I've improved the most the more I've done, if that makes sense. Like I did a lot of free work. I think sometimes, and I don't blame people for this, but they maybe go into it expecting them to like immediately make money. Expect to not make money for a while, and just get really good at what you do. And then you can charge, bigger prices as you go along. But when you're funky fresh and you really want to just start doing it, you've got all this kind of like raw creativity and like motivation that once you start a business will start to fade away a little bit because it's a business. So capitalize on that in the early days and just do like a ton of work, like reach out to friends who have small businesses and like ask them like, can we shoot together, can we do this, can we do that, because like that's kind of your prime time to improve as much as you want. And then kind of your progress will kind of, I wish I could like draw a graph right now, but like your progress will kind of be like this, and it will skyrocket because you're suddenly doing work, and then it will kind of plateau because you're focusing on business stuff and like extra stuff that comes along with it, like marketing and all that kind of stuff. So if you're just starting out, I feel like I'm waffling, but like just go for it. Just do loads of work, even if it's for free, because that's what will get your name out there.
So would you say being passionate about what you do is more important or just as important as focusing on the business side of things? What would you say is more?
I mean, personally, I don't know about you, but I hate the business side of it. Truthfully, I hate marketing myself. I hate making price guides and like building my website and like trying to do stuff that like makes people want me. Like I hate that. And I used to hate job interviews because I was like, I'm not good at selling myself. Like, so if you're not passionate about the photography itself and like storytelling and like taking pictures of people in love, then you're gonna you're gonna fall at the hurdle of doing all the business stuff because it just doesn't feel worth it because you don't care about the work at the end.
Yeah, I definitely feel like with creative businesses you have to genuinely be creative. I strongly believe that. I honestly feel like you could definitely make money off of anything. You could be a wedding photographer and make money, but if you don't love what you do, and if you're not creative and like to find new ways of how to do that and be different, then I don't know, I just feel like I feel like it makes the what do you call it, the industry look bad because I feel like a creative industry should stick to creatives that actually care about what they're doing. But if you're only seeing it for like the business point of view, then it kind of kills that authenticity. Like people like to see a business and there's a lot of like time, effort and love put into it, and you can tell that person genuinely enjoys what they do. It's not just like, oh, I heard you can make good money off doing this, let me get my foot in that door. But I think it definitely shows, for sure.
Definitely. I think, like, I've had, and they're super well-meaning, like, I don't mean to bash them at all, but like I've had friends and they've been like, oh, I have a DSLR, like I think I could make some money off of, you know, taking pictures of like weddings or whatever. And I'm like, oh, right, yeah, because I don't have the heart to tell them that like you can't do it casually, like it's too hard work, like you need to love it because it's quite hard, you know, like even a wedding
so much time is put into it.
Exactly. So it's not like you can just be like, oh yeah, I'll just like do it now and then, like on the side. Like it's hard work. But one thing like I would say for people who are like starting out with the photography or whatever, one thing that's hugely changed like the way my clients interact with me and like how many bookings I get is being honest about like who I am. I think I'm not very professional, to be honest. Like, I'm not super like business when people answer my emails. And when I first started, I really tried to be like super professional and like really like, I don't even know how to describe it, but just like the language I used in my emails and like when I was interacting with them was very business. And now I just type how I speak, and I like people book me and they're like, like I get on so well with you, like I want to book you because like I'm typing how I would talk to them in person.
It's definitely the personality. I feel like with something as personal as wedding photography, obviously your amazing photos sell, but the personality definitely adds to it, for sure. I think especially now that we've got social media, so many people are doing photography, you really need to like stand out in some way. And someone might just be drawn to your character and be like, oh, I really like how she is, she seems really warm, I want to book her. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And like I got that so wrong for so long. Like first year I just was super business and I was like, I'm getting these inquiries, but like why is no one booking me? And like it's because my emails were cold. Like that's why. So that's one thing like I would say is like photography, if you're running a photography business, you don't have to be business, like just be yourself because that's what people want.
I think thankfully you can kind of get away with that in like a creative industry because it's so expressive that you can kind of do what you want really. And it's because you love it so much, it's like this is how I like to do it, this is who I am, and people will just be drawn to what they like. So they say art is subjective, so I suppose you can see it like that.
I think the pandemic forced me to think outside the box for my business. I couldn't just shoot weddings anymore as I knew them. I had to. We remarketed ourselves for like micro weddings and stuff. So, and also like during lockdown, I had no content. So I had to come up with stuff to post and like pictures to take and stuff. So I think if anything, it's made me less reliant on weddings and work for my creativity. I've got to kind of pull it from other places too, not just my work. And I watched, I don't know if you signed up for the wedding summit that business coach guy did. It was like all over Instagram. I don't know if you.
That just shows how much I'm on social. That's so bad.
It was like I didn't like all of it, to be honest. Some of it I found quite difficult to like watch, but there was this one guy who was like be inspired by things outside of your industry, and I thought that's probably what creative means to me, is like I stopped doing photography that wasn't weddings because it became a job, and the pandemic came and I had all this time. And so all of a sudden I started taking pictures again just for fun. I think it's forced me to enjoy photography again, if anything.
That's really, really good. So it's sort of like made you remember almost why you even became a wedding photographer. I like that. It's good. I'm glad my made-up word actually worked out. And I'm looking forward to seeing like how your business is going to blow up next year. Hopefully once things chill out with this pandemic. But I think there's good things to come, and yeah, I'm excited for it. So keep going, doing your thing.
I don't know if you've covered this, but like.
Oh, you've got. I was like, we've got another question.
Could you maybe ask? I don't know how much energy we've got, but like, could you ask her maybe, like, have you always been creative? And also, do you think that people are naturally creative, and do you think that you can become creative if you're not? Do you think everyone's got creativity within them?
It's probably a bit of both, maybe. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, so for example, like, my husband's a programmer, and to me, like, I would initially just think like he's a nerd, like, he's a computer guy, and like, but then actually the more he's been involved in my business, the more he's like come out with these ideas that like I didn't know were there.
So it's almost like unlocked his creative side, possibly.
Yeah, so I think maybe like people think they aren't creative, but actually once they get into something that does like require that, they actually come out with all these ideas. So I think it definitely can be worked on. Yeah, but I think being passionate, if you're already initially passionate about something, it's probably easier to get to that point.
That's really interesting, because I always thought you're just creative from like birth. You're just naturally creative. Yeah. But that's interesting that your husband is very techie and nerdy, as you said, not me. But being with you, but seeing you be creative and him getting a little hand in it has almost unlocked his creative side and made him interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Well, there we have it. But I think it's been good. It's been interesting getting to know you, because obviously we've never met before today. So like we've chatted on Instagram, but it's nice to like speak to someone face to face, Zoom to Zoom. So yeah, it's been cool to like meet you, get to know you, hear about your story, which is very interesting. I feel very inspired now to like get on my Instagram and start doing stories. I'm gonna like dedicate my first story to you.
So like you're gonna just like skyrocket and I'm gonna be like, oh damn.
But yeah, thanks so much for joining me on Zoom, and appreciate. Why am I being so awkward? Do you know what it is? It's because in my head I'm like, I know I'm near the end of wrapping this up. Let me just ruin it for myself. Nice to meet you. Hey. That was really fun.
That's it.
That was actually really interesting to take ages to come back.
Hello, friend.